And Ford gave the truck away to the winning tough guy.
I'd like to thank the Department of Defense and everyone who made Tough Guys possible. I'm Howie Long. Stay tough.
Since the timing of the 2003 invasion of Iraq could be controlled, it had its own pre-game show. Just 2 weeks before Shock and Awe, MSNBC aired a Gulf War I retrospective called Waging War, General Schwarzkopf's Diary.
It's a frightening thought.
James Baker, who was Secretary of State under George Bush Sr., describes exactly how we've come to regard the television war.
And I remember going back to my office at the State Department and ordering up a drink, sitting there at 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I can't remember what time it was, with the television on, to watch the war start. And I thought to myself, this is incredible. And I was going to watch it unfold on television. And I turned on the TV, and the war was late starting. I thought
this pregame show had no shortage of sports metaphors.
When I looked at the disposition of the Iraqi forces prior to the kickoff of the campaign,
I was eager to get out and do it, so it's really almost like before a big game, you know.
When Waging War returns, a violent surprise from Saddam.
The new war was shaping up to be a replaying of an old rivalry.
We think their generals were just scared to death.
As the 2003 invasion approached, the language of sports took a naturally prominent place in the coverage.
Just a spectacular day here in San Diego, and as the world waits for the Super Bowl here, there's worlds changing here.
Certainly, you know, there is a sense that the game is on.
This is not by any means the start of the campaign. Well, it's sort of like the coin toss of a football game.
And clearly, I don't think the kickoff was intended to be this target of opportunity.
That one of the missiles landed within 1 football field of Camp Commando.
If they move in a direction, would be right out there in front. It would sort of be the blockers on a football team, as it were. And you can see
in the studio, for example, the term chalk talk applied just as easily to the general as the coach.
Chuck, give us the chalk talk. Absolutely, Brian. Let's jump right to the screenwriter because there's been
banter about favorite teams also fit right into the coverage.
How about them dogs?
How about them dogs?
The Knicks lost again, season over, just so you know. I didn't use most of the tickets because of the war, Rick. And then tonight, the Yankees lose 7-6 to Toronto up at the stadium, which was only their second loss of the year. It was a great game, outstanding game. It seemed like every batter went to a full count.
Apart from the spectator sport quality of war coverage, the U.S. military radically shifted recruiting strategies in 2001. For example, both the Army and Navy began sponsoring NASCAR teams. The new ad campaigns took advantage of the language and imagery of sports. Other ad campaigns seem to equate war with a leisure time activity. The Army of One campaign in particular appealed to the new culture of extreme sports.
Even though I'm a part of the strongest army in the world, I am my own force.
In basic training, I'm looking forward to the obstacle course. I think that's going to be really fun.
Your duty today is personal courage.
Biggest fear is climbing down. Like a scary thing for me.
The ad makers for the Marines got on board with extreme sports as well.
The passage is intense.
Indeed, the U.S. military seemed to be taking a scene out of the Vin Diesel spy movie, XXX. The metaphor of war as spectator sport has powerful implications. The metaphor naturalizes violent conflict, framing it as just another channel of entertainment. This quip from The Daily Show captures the prevalence and power of the spectator sport metaphor.
Americans we're a passionate people. We're a nationalistic people. We can get into those kinds of rivalries as well.
Yeah, but Americans don't need a metaphor for war. We have war. If anything, we use war as a metaphor for sports.
No, it would have been their third. That was their third loss.
Correct.
Still, yeah, the Bo Sox fan in the ceiling needs to just get over himself. Anyway, that's about all the sports I have for you. I guess you saw the final round of the Masters, right?
Presidential address to the nation. From CBS News headquarters in New York, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. President Bush is about to address the nation from the flight deck of the Navy aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln.
Dan, this flight deck will be the backdrop for the president's speech tonight, in which he will announce an end to major combat operations in Iraq.
After President Bush made instant history aboard an aircraft carrier, Blue Box Toys began producing a presidential action figure as part of their Elite Force collection. KB Toy Stores found it to be a bestseller. After all, like any big Hollywood production, the Iraq War movie demanded merchandise. By all accounts, this was the first time a sitting president had been marketed as an action figure without a trace of irony. The TV war generated an onslaught of other merchandise too, like military Monopoly, a series of Topps trading cards, playing cards based on those issued to troops, and other collectibles. For unknown reasons, military bears became a favorite, resulting in some strange combinations. The Hamilton collection released a military figurine in its line of Faithful Fuzzies. With M16, this bear struck a pose somewhere between unconditional love and unstoppable killing machine. Another toy maker hit upon the idea of the popular Shock and Awe twin bear set. Notice their lovingly embroidered names. Recognizing the new absurd levels of war bear mania in 2003, one manufacturer released a satirical bear with a t-shirt that read, "Give us your oil or we will kill you." But war bears didn't hold a candle to the skyrocketing sales of action figures, especially during the Christmas and Easter seasons leading up to the Iraq invasion.
Overall, the toy industry is a $20 billion business, and sales of action figures have gone up about 5 times just as preparations for the war began. But children only form part of the market. 40 to 60% of sales of action figures come from teenagers and the older adult male consumer.
This time they were not your average toy soldiers. This new breed of action figure took its cues directly from the television war.
Military issue.
This is currently a figure that we've worked on that'll be available toward the fall of the year all around our troops that are currently fighting in the Middle East.
One toy producer summarized this new trend. "We started working when the showdown buzzword hit the airwaves. There's fierce competition between manufacturers to get the new things out first." Beyond startup companies capitalizing on the war, old standards like G.I. Joe began producing realistic desert-themed sets of U.S. and Israeli soldiers.
G.I. Joe's having a very good year, but G.I. Joe is doing very well, primarily because it's been remarketed to kids. So
the association between toys and the TV war was perhaps most vividly captured in an Easter 2003 bestseller, Ever Sparkle's Military Forward Command Post, what amounted to a bombed-out dollhouse. The absurdity of this playset could not escape comment on The Daily Show.
And it's a good thing. I gotta tell you, I love this. I mean, come on. This is like the Malibu Dream House reimagined after a carpet bombing somewhere in, like, Afghan Iraq or something. We happen to have the War Widow Barbie. Now, this is great because your daughter will experience a secret garden of grief. This beauty comes with little handkerchiefs.
The Army eventually caught wind of the success of action figures and began to produce its own in 2006. The Real Heroes series took the war toy to another level. Not only were the toys based on the ongoing occupation of Iraq, they depicted actual soldiers who had served there. This new breed of war toy not only showed up on the consumer market, it showed up on TV. While anchors and guests played their own game of military Monopoly on the floor, model planes ringed the set. Lester Holt stopped just short of flying a model plane around the studio. The feedback loop between the TV war and war toys closed completely in a bizarre 2005 incident. An Iraqi insurgent website posted a picture of an apparent captured U.S. soldier. The website identified the captive as John Adam. After some time, officials discovered that it was instead